I left New York for New Year's Eve 2019, and 2020 I ended up in a band of artists from around the world. Of these artists, the first one I met was Olga Shurygina. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name right, but she'll soon clarify it for you. Her practice is fascinating in the sense that I've met other artists who've worked with plates as some sort of cultural artifact from society. And she also had this idea in her somewhat native Uzbekistan. Her parents are from there, but she was born and grew up in Russia. I hope you understand everything she speaks about, and I'd be happy to have feedback from people. I haven't really asked for feedback so far, but I'd be happy to have anyone's feedback on this episode. If there are questions, I'll definitely get Olga to clarify them for you. Fascinating the life there, fascinating the work she does, fascinating to see the connections between the present, the past, and what might be shaping up for the future of Uzbekistan. And I hope you enjoy this and have a happy, healthy, prosperous new year and new decade. What I love about Anchor is that it's given me creative control of my own material. I was approached by a big company to do a podcast about the art world, and I didn't want to sign over all rights to them. Anchor has allowed me to make this podcast and to keep creative control as well as financial control in terms of advertising. Anchor gives you everything you need in one place for free. You can use it on your phone or your computer. There are tools that help you to upload your recordings that you've done separately or on the app. They'll distribute it for you as well, which again, I couldn't wrap my mind around distribution, and they have it all there for you in one place: Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and many more. You can easily make money from it as well. They help you advertise. As you can see right now, I'm getting my first ad out through Anchor. And all you have to do is download the app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Good luck with your podcast and getting your voice out there and owning your content. Yeah, so tell me again the name of the philosopher. Claudio Naranja. Yeah. And what was in his philosophy that made you think about becoming an artist or convinced you that you should change from fashion to art?
Because it was really difficult for me to live my life as I lived it before, because I really couldn't feel anything deep. I tried to be stylish and to be good for other people, but not for myself. I didn't know myself. And inside me, deep and deeper, there lives some little child. And first time in these seminars, I listened her.
Right, the little child. Well, it could be a him too. We don't know, but at least outside it's a her.
Yeah, maybe.
But what in the philosophy was telling you that perhaps you should look towards art?
Naranja is Gurdjieff's pupil. Have you ever heard about Gurdjieff?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and he talks much about Enneagram.
About?
Enneagram. Have you ever heard?
No.
But it's really difficult to learn it through the books or through the internet. It's not true. Only through the practice. Only, and he gives this practice to feel your neuroses.
Your nervousness, your neuroses.
Neuroses, yeah. And it's really deep work. And through this work, I understood who I am. And it's like I never allowed me to be an artist, but I'm an artist.
Right.
So I became free through this practice, and now I live my childhood
through the art.
Through the art, yeah. Because when I was a child, I couldn't live free because it was difficult family situation, and I had to be older than I was.
Right. And now, what have you been doing with the art since then? How long ago was this that you did seminars?
About 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
Yeah, 3 years.
And what happened in the last 3 years with your work?
I began from object art, and I made my first project about Uzbekistan and my roots, about my grandmother. Her name the same as mine, Olga. And all her life she worked as a pattern designer in a local factory in Uzbekistan. And she created really beautiful fabrics, but it's not an art. She always think about her as a craft
Person.
yeah. And this project was about women and women symbols in this country, because it's really traditional and patriarchal country.
Yes.
And through this project I know more about myself, and I began to in love with this country. And next project I decided to make in the same area. And for me, this country like a transit place where time stopped, or I don't know how to explain it. It's really
It's
magic.
stuck in time.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
magic place. My dreams always come true there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about the plates project. You remember you mentioned that about this guy saying, "Oh, you expect to do that there, you will never do it."
You mean my last project
Yeah.
about Aral Sea? Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. Now I'm doing a documentary film about this project, because all my trip I fixed it on a camera. So it was a project about local people who lives in Muinak. It's a town close from this RLC. And RLC dead maybe 30 years ago.
So it's completely dry.
Yes, completely dry, and climate changed, and people started to ill, and it's really difficult. And they live in really
Patriarchal society.
society, yeah, with the president as a main person in their life. And I realized that they can't to imagine. They just like machines, or maybe only children. They can do something.
They get orders, they can follow the orders, but they're not thinking for themselves.
Yeah, yeah. But it's my image. I don't know how it is exactly, but I feel like it is.
But you're speaking the same language that they are.
They speak Russian a little, because it was Russian city in the end of 19th century. But now it's absolutely
Liberated.
Uzbek, yeah.
Yeah.
And I decided to ask local people to give me one ceramic plate for one family as a symbol of their family. And somebody gave me a traditional plate, beautiful. Somebody gave me an old plate with
Cracked chips.
yeah. And I wanted to take it and to do a mirage of this sea in this sea. So I took maybe 3,000 of plates, and government, Uzbek government decided to help me,
Yes.
and to do it without me, maybe. They text some information on Facebook and asked all region to take plates.
Wow.
And people decided to help me because they wanted to believe in something, and it was incredible when people just brought it to me.
Right.
Yeah, and in last day when I realized how much it is, I did this installation for one day, and then Tashkent television. It's a main city in this country,
Okay.
capital of the Uzbekistan.
Mm-hmm.
They shoot some TV program about me,
Mm-hmm.
and local people didn't come to see this installation. They saw it only by this TV show
Wow.
later.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's research project about
Mhm.
these people, about what do they think about my project,
Right.
what do they think about this imagination world. And I think, and especially because I'm a woman, and it's like, wow, this little girl do something by herself. It's like, wow, it's impossible.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think it's something new for me and for them too. Now these plates are in this city, and I'm going to show this installation again, but with music, and it will be my new part of this project.
Right. And what about the work you did with the fabric? Tell me about the stuff you do with textiles in your art.
Yeah, I found granny's fabrics in local shops, and
Of Uzbekistan.
yeah,
Mhm.
of Uzbekistan. I just came to the market and asked my grandmother, "Is it your fabric?" And she told me, "Yes, this is mine," and I bought it. So I have a really big collection of her fabrics,
Mhm.
and I decided to make some still lifes with her fabrics
Mhm.
as a symbol of one person life, and her life especially, because we had to she had to move from Uzbekistan to Moscow because of her health,
Yes.
and I can't imagine how it's hard to for her.
Right.
Yeah.
So now she's living in Moscow with you and your family.
Yes, yes. And about last 10 years, she just drawing on scarves and sells it to her friends or tourists. And I used this scarf too to make some art therapy with my friends. I covered with these scarves my friends for meditations.
Yeah. So you would sort of bind them like a mummy to the chair.
And
So-
it's really symbolic because it's my grandmother's fabrics. It's really warm and
soft.
soft, yeah, but you can't move. So it's really interesting transformation inside you.
Yes, yes. Well, yeah, I mean, from a Western standpoint, the binding is also interesting for other reasons related to like being a slave or even in the BDSM world of
Yes,
bondage
yes,
and
yes.
stuff like that. So it has many layers of interpretation.
Yes, yes.
And what about the one where you are sort of photographed yourself with the fabrics all connected and spread out in that image of yourself sort of wrapped in the, but the fabrics are all sort of patched together, different pieces.
You mean this big still life?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, it's about my grandmother's moving from Uzbekistan to Moscow, and I decided, and I discussed about my life in Moscow and life in apartment. How will I feel if I will live in different area? What does it mean for me and for other people to live in the village, in the nature, or in the city? What does it mean? And is it the difference between me in this
Yes.
area? So I made first I made a few these big still lifes in my apartment, and then I moved to Uzbekistan, and I did the same stuff but on the field in Uzbekistan, and it's really interesting because it's freedom, but it looks like a freedom, but it's not.
Right.
Because if I'm a woman, I can't be alone there, and I can't do it by myself
Right.
there. But I did it. So the nature is our
Our canvas.
Yeah, our canvas, and it's mine,
It's ours,
it's
right?
ours,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
But there you can't,
Right.
feel it. Yeah.
Right,
So I try to open this for me and for local people.
right.
That this is ours.
Yes. And the photograph you showed me of the women all working in the fabric factories, they were all dressed the same and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So I guess when they see you looking sort of like a foreigner, but really with your roots from Uzbekistan, it must make them all very. They must think a little bit of the possibilities
Yes,
of
yes.
the what goes on outside. And what about that project that you're doing with them, taking their photograph or filming them for? You did some photographs with them outside of the factory and stuff like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
And in the fields, the women in the fields.
Yes, yes. I spent maybe, I was in Muinak maybe 21 days,
Mhm.
but with these women I spent about 6 days. And I saw my changes and their changes because they didn't want to bring me plates.
Mhm.
They didn't understand why should they work.
Yeah.
But we spent 6 days together,
Mhm.
and I talked with every woman who worked in this fabric factory.
Right.
And I think I don't know, did they understand me, but
Mhm.
we'll see. But they brought me.
The plates eventually.
Yes.
And what about those women in the fields? You know, the photographs you did that I
Yeah.
mentioned looked sort of like something from the 19th century.
Yeah, I told you about Uzbekistan, and it looks like time stopped there.
Mhm.
It's really because 27 years there were really hard situation. Karimov regime,
Mhm.
it's ex-president,
Mhm.
and people 27 years they was how to say it, just they didn't know nothing. They didn't know nothing about every other world.
They were cut off.
Yes,
Yeah.
they were cut off.
Yeah.
So time stopped.
Stopped.
Yeah. So people really doesn't know about any other world
Mhm.
still.
And they're basically working in the fields, like harvesting it,
Yes. Yes.
and again, it's only women. Where are the men?
Mostly women. Yeah.
And it's because it's a Muslim country.
Because yes, it's a specific Muslim country, and it's really strange because women from their childhood they have to be a good wives and have to be a good women,
Mhm.
hardworking,
Mhm.
and for men it's nothing. You just can be a man.
Right.
Yeah.
And you talked about your grandma, but what about your dad? Did you grow up with your dad?
Dad,
Yeah.
my daddy, my
Yeah.
father. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not an art person.
Uh-huh.
He's Russian, and he's a programmist. Programmist.
For computers?
Yes,
A
for
programmer, right?
for
Yeah.
programming,
Oh,
yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
But he likes to play on guitar.
Uh-huh.
That's all.
And what are your plans for the future? I know you said maybe you were thinking about finding a school somewhere to study or stuff like
Yeah,
that, or
I want to find my people and to find each other, because I think art communities is everywhere, but
Mhm.
we have to do something to find each other.
right.
So I want to communicate with that other world, to
Mhm.
show my experience, to show my works, and to do something new.
And you were mentioning as well the perhaps to find a sponsor for one of the projects.
Yeah, I want to be free in my art. I'm not going to sell it in a few years,
Mhm.
but I want to find money for my future project,
Mm-hmm.
to be free in my.
And what's that project? Is it the film project?
Yes, one part of this project will be a film,
Mm-hmm.
but it will be research project too, and I told you about music project. So
Right.
so I have to find some money for these musicians and for the electronic technique stuff. Yeah.
And then in the meantime, I guess you also want to travel around and experience some stuff that could somehow contribute to your own personal evolution.
Yes, because I want to feel this connection with nature. So now we are sitting together in Africa, and because for me it's a center of the world. I don't know, in my mind I feel like this is the center.
Right.
And it's equator.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So
well, if we think of it as the place that Lucy was found or born, I think most paleontologists or people who deal with evolution agree that it all started here. And then, I mean, I'm sure there's some arguments about that somewhere, somehow. But yeah, and I mean, we look around us and we see creativity as well, but we don't know how much of it is stuff that's, again, what is art and what is, what did you say the word was? Not artisan, but craft.
Yeah.
Like, again, I myself can't really decide from time to time what is what. But I guess if you're making it over and over and over by some sort of formula, that's a craft then. But art is something else, a bit more pushing the envelope of what has not been done as yet. Well, thanks for telling me about this. I mean, if I think of some more stuff, maybe we'll have a conversation about it again later.
yeah.
Thank you. And can you just repeat your name so that I get it right next time I have to introduce you?
Olga Shurygina.
Shurygina. Okay.
Or Shurygina or Shurygina. Shurygina or Shurygina.
Okay, yeah, that's what I wasn't sure about. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The
Yeah.
sound?
So this sound is amazing, yeah?
It's the sound of your...
Yeah, of my childhood, because I spent a lot of time in the nature near the river.
in Uzbekistan.
No. In Moscow,
Oh, okay.
close from Moscow, because I really moved to Uzbekistan only 3 years ago. Before I haven't been
Lived
there.
at all.
So we lived in a little, how would you say, like camping
Yeah, like an
shalash.
RV. An R...
Not houses.
Yeah,
It's like
it's
just.
like a... I know what you mean, but I can't remember the word in English now.
like a tourist.
Yeah, like a vehicle for camping.
Yeah, camping. Yeah. And
camping.
it was 90s. It was really poor country, and my family, they couldn't buy a house, so they decided they found some place near from Moscow, and we spent all our summers there. And I remember this sound because
of the rain.
we made our house with trees and with plastic.
Tarpaulin.
Yeah. And we lived as a really poor guys, but it was so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this weather is similar because it was rainy and you could do everything you want, but now you can't. It's dangerous, but maybe
Being outside of Moscow like that is dangerous now.
for children, yeah.
Right.
So you always should like, what's going on, where are they?
Right,
Yeah.
but back then it was safer.
Yeah. And
Interesting.
yeah, and our securities, it was Kazakhs, you know, Kazakh on horses.
Yeah.
They
They were the security for the
for this
people in
area.
this camp.
Yeah. It was like wow, fairy tale. Yeah.
Wow, yeah. Well, that picture you showed me, that's exactly what I thought, like Hansel and Gretel.
And this summer I took some pictures of these little houses because now I think it was last summer when it was, because now all these fields near this river, it's new modern houses.
Oh, they built them up now.
Yeah, build them up, and
Interesting.
this is all.
Yeah, like a
Indeed.
camper van. I think that's what we call it in English, a camper van. What you were living in, like camper van.
Yeah, camper van.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Well, that's a great story too. I can totally imagine it. And you said now in the summers in Moscow, it's raining more than just hot
Yeah,
and humid.
yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
a lot of rain.
yeah.
And the quality of air could be better because there's not enough trees, I
Yes.
guess now.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we are all changing our environments from time to time. So if our environments where we live are not suited to us anymore. Oh, I also forgot to mention that I'm off the map, off the radar, off the everything for the next 2 weeks. So our next episode of 2020 will probably be in the second half of January. I look forward to you listening then, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Thanks for joining us on the Bees and Honey podcast.